Our stories are brilliant. We are resilient. Our stories are brilliant. We are resilient.
Hello and welcome. Thank you for joining us at Resilient again. Now, today we have a very special interview today with Holly Courtright. So, Holly, could you please introduce yourself and kind of give a short biography of yourself, who you are, where you're at, what you do for a living, and what's your current project? If you could kind of, you don't have to do it all at once, but if you could go ahead and introduce yourself now, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name's Holly. I live in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, and I run a real estate business here in Victoria. And yeah, I just recently finished up my graduate certificate in executive coaching. So that is my current project. I'm just working on developing that coaching business outwards. So far, it's been amazing, such an amazing experience. And I just love the opportunity to watch people grow and, reach those aha moments and move forward with their own big projects in their life. Yeah. So that's me, and that's where I'm at.
Oh, that sounds so interesting. So how did you get started in coaching? You said you just finished your master's degree. Um, did you do real estate for a really long time, and this is sort of a second career, or has that always been a dream for you to do coaching?
It's always been I wouldn't say it's been a dream. It's always been on the back burner. I was always doing coaching, just a little bit as part of other tasks that I was doing. I used to work in recreation for a really long time. So I ran swimming pools and did community development work. So there were a
Hmm.
lot of really, really interesting opportunities for development coaching and
Hmm.
running workshops and those sorts of things. So it's always been something that I did, and now I'm
Hmm.
just formalizing it a bit more.
Oh, that sounds so fun. What a great way to help people kind of become who they really want to be. That's
100%.
neat.
Yeah. Coaching is definitely for me about service. So service
Hmm.
to the client and making sure that we are going in the direction that they want to go in. So it's a
Hmm.
really great opportunity, regardless of what type of coaching people engage in. It's always great to have someone holding you accountable in your corner.
And you work with different styles of coaching, or are you mainly in one style? I don't know a lot about coaching. Can you kind of explain that a little bit, like how that works, what you do with
Yeah,
clients?
absolutely. So I work in executive coaching, but there's lots of different types. So I would say it's a distant cousin to counseling, a very distant cousin. Uh,
Hmm.
so what it does, well, what I do is I work with clients to identify some of their limiting beliefs, let's say, as an
Hmm.
example.
Hmm.
And then we work through those. We find out what what are the anchors that are holding them down and identify areas in their life that they would like to make changes around. And then
Hmm.
I work with people on an individual basis. So I do one-on-one,
Hmm.
and we tackle the problems that they want to tackle versus counseling or the things that are on that scale or in that realm. Focus more on prescriptive.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's this is a less prescriptive approach. So it
Right.
differs for every individual depending on what they're seeking to, yeah,
Right.
to work on.
Right. It sounds like it's a little bit, well, it's a lot more action based than certain approaches, less talking and more action steps kind of thing.
Yeah, there's a lot of deep questioning that goes on with coaching. So it's really about helping the client to identify what's important to them and what they as an individual want to do to get there versus a very systematic approach that is utilized by everyone. So it's much more individualistic.
Oh, it sounds so
Mhm.
useful, especially now that so many people are trying to find a new way. I think that you picked a good time for it.
Yeah, and coaching is awesome in the sense that, you have life coaches out there or relationship coaches or career coaches. So there's really all sorts of different areas in a person's life that makes them feel a bit more whole. So depending on what is identified as the root that is, holding a person back, they can get out there and find a professional to help them.
Oh, that's wonderful. Now, are you going to be able to do your coaching? Do you do it online or via Zoom now in sort of the new normal? Are you going to be able to, or is it only in person?
Well, you could definitely do it in person. You could yell across a field. I don't know how, I don't know
Right,
I don't
right,
know how
right.
private that is. But yeah,
Yeah,
on the phone via Zoom, it's a really useful tool and can be done in a variety of ways. It's definitely I won't call it live action role play, like we're not larking here, but it's definitely something that does require the back and forth to go on. So yeah,
right,
but
right.
but
Yeah.
by phone or by Zoom or even Facebook Messenger thingama hooky bookie, all of them function in the same general manner, so they all work.
Right, and I would think that in some ways that would be really great even when things get back to quote unquote normal, just because of the immediacy of that. If you're needing that kind of help in the moment, you'll be able to help someone if they need it. I think that, sort of a side bonus, sort of
Yeah,
like you say with Facebook, I never thought about doing it via Messenger. That's wow, that's a great idea.
yeah, and the thing is there's some underlying tenets, obviously, that large portions of the population struggle with. Imposter syndrome,
Hmm.
confidence, like all of these sorts of things you can speak to generally. So if I wanted
Hmm.
to, I could go and do a Facebook Live on imposter syndrome. But that's not really coaching, because coaching is something, it's a relationship that you build with someone. So through those sorts of things, you can give people some tools, absolutely, or shift their mindset slightly from listening to those things. But in the grand
Hmm.
scheme of things, for me anyway, it is the one-on-one personal relationship and the service to the client that's really important around the coaching relationship.
Oh, that makes
Yeah.
perfect sense. Now, I wanted to ask you if you wanted to talk about a time in your life when you have been resilient. It could be things like trauma or grief or medical events or some kind of struggle that you've had success with, kind of working through in your life.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that we all have glimpses of resiliency in our lives. And I think it's definitely something that we are slowly starting to lose sight of. So it's it's interesting that you would ask that. Uh, when I was 24 years old, my mom passed away. Not super suddenly, but kind of within 8 months, kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
it was very interesting because in those times, approximately 20 years ago, not giving away my age or anything, but uh, times were quite a bit different. And everybody felt very sorry for me. And so I was allowed to behave very poorly. And I was given the green light to exist in my current situation in a way that I wasn't proud of. So I had to leave. That was my decision. That was how I was going to build my resiliency there, is I wasn't going to, as much as I love my friends and family, and I thank them for their understanding and them allowing me to be a
Hmm.
total cow. Uh, that was just not who I wanted to be. So I left and traveled for a year. And through solo traveling, it built so much resiliency for me. Every day that I woke up, it was up to me. I didn't have to wake up. I could stay in bed all day. I could, go out to my local watering hole wherever I was in the world, drink tons and tons of brewskis, go home, pass out, wake up the next day. Or I could wake up and go see the sights and, take in an awesome restaurant. It was up to me. And part of that time was spent doing the former, and part of that time was spent doing the latter. So it was a real test for me to become who I wanted to be. I was in a position where I got to pick. And that to me is where resiliency comes from. It comes from being faced with a decision that you have to make, and then, picking the path that's going to be more challenging, but it's going to be more rewarding in the end. So, yeah.
Yeah.
So
My gosh.
that to me just kind of embodies what resiliency is. You're faced with options, and it's really hard to pick the hard option, but you do it because at the end of that, there's so much greater reward. So while I was out and about, doing my traveling around, I got on a boat, and I didn't know anything about boats. I didn't know anything about sailing. This boat was leaving from Portugal, and it was sailing across the ocean, and it was a delivery job to New Zealand. And to be honest, I really didn't get how far away New Zealand was. I just really didn't understand. So, I won't say that I necessarily picked the hard option. I think I fell into the hard option without full realization of what I was doing. So I got on this boat, and we traveled across the ocean. So we went to Lanzarote. That was our first stop. So that was 8 days. And I thought, well, this is pretty crappy. I don't really like this. The boat was super old. So if anybody that's listening is thinking I was on a yacht or, anything fancy like that, it's just not the case. It was a 20-foot by 40-foot catamaran. No radio, no shower. It was, bare bones, fixer upper.
Wow.
Yeah, this sucker was a fixer upper. So finally left Lanzarote, and we were headed for Antigua. And that was 23 days. No land. Didn't see land for 23 days. And yeah. Wow. And I gotta tell you, it wasn't good. In retrospect, it was amazing. And I guess that's really the takeaway from it all is sometimes in the moment you're in the shit and it is total garbage and it feels awful and you don't understand what lessons you're supposed to be taking from any of this. And, that's all well and good, but at the end of it, when you look back, that hindsight, there's so much value in putting yourself in situations that are difficult. And for me, that trip across the ocean was a pivotal moment for me to becoming who I am now, because it allowed me to have all the emotions that we typically don't allow ourselves to have. The death of a parent, or, the loss of, excuse me, the loss of a job. There's so many things that we're faced with in our life, and we just have to move on. Everybody says, move on, just keep going, keep going. So this was an opportunity for me, 23 days in the middle of the ocean, where I got to have it all. I got to be mad, I got to be sad, I got to be glad. And it was a huge, huge bonus for me, because when I did see land, I was a completely different person. I, you know, during that journey, all of our fresh water leaked out of our holding tanks. So we only had one jug, and we had to use it for brushing our teeth and washing our face, and everything else we cooked in salt water. Oh, if you've ever had pasta, if you can imagine the saltiest pasta that you've ever eaten in your entire life.
Oh, that
Oh,
sounds
it's like those
horrible.
Sour Patch Kids, but pasta. Like, it's wrong. There's nothing right about that situation.
Right.
Eh,
But you had to eat it, right? Because how much
Yeah,
food do
well,
you
and
have
that's the
there?
thing. You don't have any fresh food left after a while. So yeah, you got to eat it. And you plug your nose
Hmm.
and you just carry on with, you carry on with your current state of affairs. Um, I said
Hmm.
that earlier that I ran swimming pools. I'm a very good swimmer. That's how I put myself through uni. I ran swimming pools, I taught lifeguarding, all that sort of stuff. We didn't have a shower on the boat. So we would drop the sails, and every second day we would throw a buoy line out behind us and hop in the water. And that's how we would get clean. And I was terrified. I'm a great swimmer. I would not be the first one in or the last one out. In my mind, I needed a 50% chance that the shark was going to eat the other guy. I could not be the only one in there. That just was not an option. So it was just a really smelly, hungry, dirty, hot, cold, everything time. But at
Hmm.
night, I would do watches. We switched off, and it was so dark that you've never seen so many stars in all your life. It's
Mm.
unbelievable. With no light pollution, it is one of the most magnificent things that I have ever seen in my life. And it gave me a lot of time to think and,
Hmm.
to make decisions about who I wanted to be and how I wanted to live my life. And what I decided is that when something bad happens to you or around you, uh, that can't be the defining moment in your life. That needs to be the moment that you define your life by instead. You have options. So yeah, it
Mm.
was I made it. The first thing I did when I got off the boat is I had an ice cream cone. And oh
Oh,
my,
I
it was
bet.
the best flipping ice cream cone I've ever eaten in my life. I had a shower for about 45 minutes. And
I can
yeah,
see that.
and I drank a brewski because it was a dry ship, so no booze on board. And I sat on a picnic table in Antigua looking at what was previously my prison, you know, and
Hmm.
I was
Hmm.
very grateful for the challenges that I had made it through. There was so many things that happened on that boat that challenged me, and physically and emotionally. And at the end of it, I came out so much stronger, but only because I decided to. And I think for me, that's really the big thing about resiliency. You have to pick.
Hmm.
Yeah, you
Hmm.
have to choose to overcome it. It's we have a choice, no matter what's going on around us. And you have to make that choice that you're bigger than the one thing or the two things or whatever is going on in your life right now.
Hmm. Yeah, it sounds like you didn't necessarily have to know the next step. You just had to know that you wanted to go forward.
100%. It didn't matter. I was in Antigua. We had to get a lot of repairs done on the boat. So we were around the Caribbean for a couple of months, and we sailed through the Panama Canal, and it was amazing. Amazing.
Oh,
But
oh,
halfway
wow.
through the Panama Canal, I thought, I'm done. I don't want to do this. Yeah, I don't want to do
Oh,
this
God.
anymore. And, you know, it's very interesting because Holly, before the boat incident, would have stayed because I
Mhm.
felt like I had given somebody, I had made a promise that I was going to, help out on this boat all the way to New Zealand. But I
Mhm.
realized that those sorts of things are a dime a dozen. They'll find someone else to go on that boat. I am not the only person that can accomplish tasks. It
Mhm.
But I'm the only person that can accomplish tasks for me. So that
Mhm.
was a decision. It was I just thought I don't want to be on this stinking boat anymore. So yeah, I was like, this is enough of this. I was on there for about 4 months, 4.5 months, all told. And Panama City, I got off and waved goodbye, and the boat sailed away, and I traveled overland back home. So, uh, and it was good
Mhm.
timing. It was a great decision on my part, and I got what I needed to get out of that experience to grow and change for sure.
Mhm. It's funny when you said you got to Antigua, I was thinking, oh my gosh, does she get back home on that boat? I wasn't sure you were going to.
Yeah, it's funny because in Antigua, I had no thought of getting off the boat. I had just done 23 days that were some of the hardest days of my life. And the thought of getting off the boat wasn't even in my mind at all. Uh, but
Mhm.
over time, during the easier times, when we were getting repairs done and we were in Trinidad and Tobago for quite a while. And so I was doing scuba diving and life was grand at that point. Uh, and that's
Mhm.
when I thought, is there more that I can take from this experience? And when I realized that the second ocean crossing that was about to happen, um, I had taken
Mhm.
what I needed to take from that experience. So, exactly like
Mhm.
you said, it didn't matter what the next experience was, it just needed to be forward. And staying on the boat wasn't moving forward. That would have been me staying where I was comfortable, even though it was
Mhm.
uncomfortable.
Mhm. Well, it
Yeah,
was known.
totally.
You you
Yeah,
you'd conquered
yeah,
it,
totally. And
kind
that's
of.
the thing. Once you've conquered something, if you just stay there, you have to ask yourself why. Aren't there bigger
Mhm.
things? Isn't there another thing that I can get out there and conquer? Because we can all take a rest. You know, it's not about having to be moving forward at, Mach 10 all the time, but at some point we do have to take that next step and we do need to move towards a new goal.
Yeah, it sounds like it was a really good self-care move for you to know yourself enough to know that you were ready for a new challenge.
Yes,
Do you have other
no, no,
Oh, go
no.
ahead, I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that deep down, we all know ourselves well enough to make the right decisions. But for whatever reason,
Mhm.
and there's a multitude, there's as many reasons as there are people on this planet for why we don't
Mhm.
make the right decision. So
Mhm.
it is again getting back to resiliency. That is part of building resiliency is digging down and making the right decisions for ourselves.
I think that's a really good point when you say that deep down we tend to know the answers, even though we might not consciously feel them. That's getting to know yourself. I feel like your journey. It was interesting because I'm teaching a memoir writing class right now. One of the subjects is travel writing and travel memoir, and the whole point is the outer journey is a metaphor for the physical journey is a metaphor for the inside journey. And I love that your story was so illustrative of that. It seems like it really informed a lot of the way you lived the rest of your life since.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've traveled a lot since then. The majority of the time, I travel by myself. And it's something that for me reinforces my own abilities to myself. When I pack up, it doesn't matter that I've switched from a backpack to a wheelie. Shh, don't tell anyone that I have a wheelie now, but uh it's that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I'm not staying in flea infested huts anymore because I have a little bit more cash flow going on. It's not about that stuff. You don't have to rough it in the way that I used to do in order to pull something from travel. uh for me, it's about being by yourself, being self sufficient, making good decisions, actually making decisions, waking up in the morning and deciding where you're going to go for breakfast. What sites are you going to go see? It's all about you. That is how you get to know yourself, is you put yourself into a position where you don't have anyone else to lean on.
Hmm. I, I I love that. That's an interesting point that you brought up because I have I have a son who's 19, and he's just finished his first year of college, right? And gosh, I want that for him so much to be able to go and do those things. I traveled when I was 19 as well, and to be able to make those decisions as an adult, like you're saying, every single minute decision, from where you're eating breakfast to what country you're going to visit next. What a gift to be able to learn to know yourself in that
Well,
way.
and I find now I have friends that have kids. I don't have any children. But I have friends that have
Mhm,
children, and I've worked with, you know, I used to supervise a staff of 45 people between the ages of 15 and 25. So,
mhm,
seeing that age group in the workplace and those sorts of things, we've really moved away from the importance of them knowing who they are. There is a serious, you can agree or disagree with me, but there's a serious lack of resiliency in that age group. And,
mhm,
uh, I am in the camp where I don't think it's all their fault. Uh, we don't
mhm.
push them to experience hardship. Instead, we try to
Right.
shelter them from it. And we can't shelter them from hardship forever. And the only way you get through hardship successfully is by building your resiliency, which requires that you know yourself. So it's all connected, and it's
Mhm.
we're seeing that age group really struggle. And I think a lot of it, I won't say all of it, like every 19-year-old needs to put a backpack on and go stay in flea ridden beach huts. Uh, that's, although they should. Like,
I
why
mean,
not? But just
right.
this push for to get out there and get a job and go to school and do all, this, that, and the other. Sometimes we need to just, and we're seeing it right now with COVID, sometimes we need to take a break,
Mhm,
right? And we struggle
mhm.
now. You see, with COVID, we're struggling because we're not used to taking a break. We don't know what to do with ourselves when there's nothing to do.
Right. And you're
Yeah,
faced with
you're
yourself.
faced with this person, you look in the mirror and you think, I don't even know who you are because you haven't spent enough time looking in the mirror at that person because everything is all about how busy we are. And you cannot build resiliency around busyness. It's, I don't think.
Oh, I agree. I think, well, as you say, it's kind of a method of of hiding from getting to do the work to know yourself because you're not willing to be solitary enough to
What
stand still and figure it
100%,
out.
100%. And that boat, I could use it in a million different ways. It's to me, it was the same as being, you know, locked in a room by myself kind of thing. Uh
Mhm.
it's exactly the same thing because wasn't wasn't stuff. I couldn't drown myself in the internet. I
Mhm.
couldn't go shopping. I couldn't, you're just stuck there.
Mhm.
And sometimes there's a lot of value in being stuck.
Mhm. Well, I think that's a
Mhm.
really valid point too, because then you have to
Or
find a
you
way
just
out.
stay there.
You got to figure it out.
Yeah,
Yeah, that
but
too.
sooner or later, uh, you know, you can only stay there for so long. So there's
Hmm.
yeah, I really do think that being stuck uh leads to great things. Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, I agree. So
Hmm.
switching gears just a little bit, what kind of stuff do you do now? And also conversely, what did you do pre-COVID? What kind of stuff do you do to make you happy besides travel?
Well, it's good that I have some other things because I'm not going anywhere very far for a while here.
Right.
But yeah, for
Right,
me,
right.
I I am a aspiring golfer, which is shock. Like I'm terrible. If you could see me physically, I'm very tall. So I have an exceptional lever system. So I can hit the ball so far, like crazy far for a girl, a
Mhm,
woman, sorry, a
mhm,
woman.
mhm,
Uh,
mhm.
but it's in the wrong direction every single time. So it, yeah, but
Oh, no.
I took that on because it gives me a really good opportunity to hang out with my dad. Uh, and other than that, I play slow pitch. I hang out with my dog. I got a rescue dog, Cedar. She's from Thailand. And I love reading. I just, yeah, love losing myself in a good book. So that's kind of what I do to keep myself busy, other than building my businesses and serving clients and those sorts of things.
Oh, thank you so much. So, what do you do in your life that makes you happy? Is it something that's working now? Is it something that helps you in times of challenge or strife? What kinds of things do you do for fun?
Well, I play a lot of sports, so I get outside a lot.
Hmm.
I play golf
Hmm.
quite poorly, but I play it anyway.
Oh.
Yeah, I swim quite a lot, and I play slow pitch and I curl. I just stay really active, which I think,
Hmm.
as you participate in these activities, it allows your subconscious to do some work in the background. When you're concentrating hard on something,
Right.
your subconscious is making making connections and doing all the important stuff that it needs to do in the background. Same as with sleep. Uh,
Hmm.
so I wouldn't say I sleep for fun, but one of the big things. I think it is fun a lot of the time, but
Yes.
one of the big changes that I have made recently, and COVID has actually helped me along the way with this a bit, is I really am focusing on getting enough sleep.
Hmm.
And I have noticed a dramatic improvement on my stress levels, my
Hmm.
ability to pivot, deal with problems that come up, and my
Hmm.
retention. I found that my retention was getting poor. So, now I make sure that I'm getting, for me, it's 8 hours. that I'm getting 8 hours of sleep. Not everybody needs it. I do. And it's something in society that we almost shame people for, the idea of getting enough sleep and not being busy enough. Like if you get 8 hours of sleep, it means you're not busy enough. And that's just baloney, I think. So yeah, it's, I've had to cut some other stuff out to add an extra 2 hours of my day that I spend with my eyes closed. But yeah, I'm quite active. Hang out with my dog Cedar. We go hiking a lot, and it's out on our paddleboard. So yeah, mainly it's outside stuff, and I like to read. I have a subscription to The Economist, which is exceptionally stressful because it's an 80-page magazine that comes every week.
Right.
Every time it shows up, it's like, oh shit, I got to get through this again. But it's great. It's a really good way to stay on top of what's going on, and just it's brief, but it gives you good introduction to stuff. And then I've got a book club, and so we read books, and we, under the guise of talking about them, we meet.
Oh, fun. What kinds of books do you read in your book club?
We just finished Educated.
Oh, such a good book. I love that book.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing. It was really, really good. I liked that book a lot. Prior to that, we read Weather, which is specific in its audience, I would say. So, but yeah, I'm an English major for my undergrad. So so I enjoy reading it. It really does allow me a good opportunity to reset.
Do you have, what are your top 2 favorite books ever?
Shantaram, I would say, is definitely up there. And I'm trying to think. Behind the Scenes at the Museum, which is a super old book, but it's just really, I like the character development. For me, I really enjoy character development. And Shantaram, if you haven't read it, the guy's just so cool. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with that guy, but he's had some pretty amazing experiences. So it's a beast. It's a brick of a book. I read it when I was backpacking, which I wouldn't necessarily recommend unless you are doing it via ebook or whatever now. But yeah, an amazing read.
Ooh, that sounds cool. I just joined a book club for the first time. I've never had time, like you say, I've never, it's one of those things that you have to make time for.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing a virtual one with some friends, and I'm fascinated by people who've managed to keep it up. So kudos for that. I think that's a lot. It's a lot of work, and it's a lot of commitment to other people.
It is. And it's, it's something that holds you accountable to reading. I'm not sure that I need necessarily to be held accountable because I enjoy reading a lot. But for people who struggle, it's a really great thing to at least contemplate or give a shot, because having an accountability partner in anything is always a huge bonus and really pushes us to succeed and be successful. So, reading, I can't say enough about what reading does for us as individuals. It broadens our mind, it expands our vocabulary, it allows us to express ourselves with more ease. So if what you need to read is an accountability partner, then a book club is an amazing thing.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. Now, you mentioned your dogs. Do you have any other pets in your life?
Oh no, I couldn't even. Cedar is a rescue dog from Thailand. She's adorable. She's 6, but she's high maintenance, man. She just, follows me around everywhere. If we had another animal, I think it would just be a jealousy match all the time. So she's the solo. She's got no brothers or sisters in the house.
And what kind of dog is she? Oh.
That's a great question.
Um,
No idea.
so about the rest of your
No, so
Oh,
I got her from
really?
Thailand. She was in the dog meat trade, so she was saved from that. And yeah, she kind of looks like maybe part beagle, part hound. Uh, so yeah, she got here and she's pretty much been the best thing that's ever happened to me. Love her to death.
Oh. Oh,
Yeah.
I am all about adoption, so I think that is amazing. Now, you're telling me, so she came over, you didn't get her in
Yeah, I
Thailand
found her
and
on
then
the
bring her
internet
back. She
actually,
came over here?
like some people find their partners. I found my partner. Uh, and
Right.
it's funny, I
Oh.
was thinking about getting a dog, and my dad was like, Holly, are you sure you're pretty busy? Blah, 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 blah. And then, one day he was like, I think that's actually a good idea, Holly. You should get a dog. And then about a week later, I just saw her on the internet. I was following a bunch of rescue organizations, and there's one that's run out of Hua Hin in Thailand by this lovely woman from Germany. And I saw her and I was like, that's my dog. And her name was Ming.
Hmm.
Uh, so yeah, they shipped her out here in a crate.
Mhm.
She got on an airplane and stuff like that, and picked her up at the Vancouver airport. I'm in Victoria, so had to bring her back. But yeah, she was pretty skittish. She couldn't go up or down the stairs. Didn't understand the leash. Uh, had to get 19 of her teeth taken out
Mhm.
because they were in pretty bad shape. But
Oh.
she's amazing now. She's,
Mhm.
like I said, she's my best friend. She's my partner in crime. She gets me outside every single day, multiple times a day.
Oh.
Hmm.
What a gift. What a gift to give yourself. That's really neat. That's really neat. Yeah, I like I say, I have way too many
Oh,
animals. I don't have a huge house, but I have four cats. Um, you know, I think that it's really hard if you're an animal person, it's hard to say no,
and there's so
especially when an
many
animal
of
doesn't need
them,
places to live.
it's heartbreaking.
Hmm.
I follow a lot of rescue organizations, and
It is.
especially, in the States, where there's kill shelters,
Hmm.
that just absolutely,
Right.
ravages my emotions. And, a lot of those dogs
Hmm.
and cats, but dogs, specifically that end up in kill shelters, it's so
Right.
sad because they're, overbred, and they're just breeds that people have passed judgment on, and they're never getting adopted. And they're lovely, pit bulls,
Hmm.
boxers, German shepherds. Uh, they have the ability to be amazing dogs, just like any other dog. So it's really heartbreaking to see, that
Hmm.
there's so many of them that end up in these shelters, and, millions of them are put down every year. And it's really a travesty that humanity has allowed this to continue to happen. Yeah,
Hmm.
we do.
Well, I'm glad that you have
We're
Cedar
just
and
two
Cedar
peas in a
has you.
pod over here.
Oh, so it sounds like Cedar is also quite a part of your daily routines. Do you have other kinds of routines
Uh,
that make your life easier?
you know what? To be honest, it's that's such an interesting question, because really, really successful people, or when people are telling you how to be successful, it's all about uh, get up super early in the morning, have your set routine, follow your set routine, do the same things every day. Like small, consistent actions lead to success. And to some degree, I agree with that.
Hmm.
Uh, but I also think it misses the point that everyone is an individual. So I don't have a lot of routines necessarily. I eat at different times, I get up at different times, I shower at different times. My consistent things are I spend time outside
Hmm.
every day, and I spend time, not right now, but I spend time around people that motivate me and bring me joy. Those are the consistent things that in my life versus, wake up at 5:30 in the morning, read for half an hour. Like, I don't live my life in that way.
Right, right. And I don't think it has to work the same way for everyone, but that's a really good answer. That's a great answer. So this is kind of an interesting sideways question, but I always like to talk to the people I interview because I think it's neat to find out if you're a visual learner or a
That
tactic
is
learner.
very interesting. Uh, it depends on what I'm learning. So, having grown up
Hmm.
before the internet, I'm aging myself. No, listeners, I'm not 65. Uh, but, back for me in high school and stuff, we didn't have the internet. We weren't, even when I started uni, we weren't taking computers to school and those sorts of things. So, uh, I definitely need to write things down. I'm not good at reading off of the computer or anything like that. Uh, so I would say academically, I need to. I'm not auditory. I'm visual for sure in terms of like academic learning,
Hmm.
but
Hmm.
other things I do need to.
Hmm.
I need to do it. It's not enough for me to read about, say, I don't know, I'm trying to think. If I needed to change the oil in my car or whatever, that's a weird example to choose because I do
Hmm.
that all the time. But let's say I had to, I would need someone to show me how to do it. Reading how to do that wouldn't sink in for me.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh, that makes sense. That makes sense. I just find it really fascinating that there are people who, my brother-in-law is the kind of person, to use your analogy. I mean, he could just do it. He could read it and he'd do it instantly, but I am definitely not. I have to, I'm very similar in that I like to read stuff and I can absorb information pretty well by reading it, but in order to do something, I
Well,
have to be shown sometimes.
and it's the
For
thing
me,
that's so
that can be a little
interesting
frustrating. I don't know
about
about you,
that,
but
about learning styles and uh, different ways of communicating, different ways of managing conflict. All these things have a huge impact on how we deal with other people and how we are in our personal and professional relationships, which is why you're seeing so many more large companies investing in different types of things, whether they're doing Myers-Briggs or they're doing STI or they're doing a DISC assessment. They want to know what is making their
Mhm.
employees tick, who's going to work well together, who is not, who's oil and water. It in a in the workplace, these types of things are
Mhm.
really important to know, and it makes teams function so much better. And I think as individuals, it allows us to function far more efficiently and effectively if we have a good understanding of what is our communication style, how do we learn the best, how do we manage conflict, all of these sorts of things. Because we can identify where we're at, what path we're on,
Mhm.
where we're headed if we continue behaving the way that we are, and we can make adjustments and pivot, move. So
Mhm.
yeah, the more we know about how we tick, uh, the more success we can't help but be more successful.
Oh, I totally agree. Oh, definitely. Now, this is a super fluffy question, but I think it's interesting to ask those also, especially right now, now that we're all in such constrained circumstances. Are there things that you do during your day? Things like small pleasures? Do you like coffee or tea, or is there some sort of biscuit you have to have in the afternoon? What's something really
Uh,
small, but a small pleasure that you do for yourself
well, I
now?
do. I won't say this is a small pleasure because I would say it's a problem. I drink a lot of coffee. So I don't know that that's a small pleasure. I think that that's like verging on addiction to caffeine. But you know, something that I do when we go for a walk down to the beach and stuff like that is I put my feet in the water. Cedar doesn't like to swim, so she sits beside me. But the water's so cold,
Mhm.
and but I do it all year round, and I just find putting my
Mhm.
feet, I roll my pants up and stuff, and just kind of dangle my feet in the water, and it, I don't know,
Mhm.
it's kind of like a reset for me for some reason. It just feels very cleansing.
Mm. It sounds very grounding and very cleansing, very well,
Mhm.
it's like a
And it
literal
feels great,
and
even when
and
it's
physical
freezing.
reset. I like
Uh,
that. That sounds
let's
fun.
not get crazy. I'm not taking off my snow boots to put my feet
Mhm.
in the water. So there might be a couple months in there where the feet don't see the water. But
Right.
even when it's cold, it just feels,
Hmm.
even when it's needly, when it's so cold, it feels like it's just pricking you with like a million needles. It's still, yeah, it still just feels, it's almost like your whole body just kind of pulls that chill upwards and it just cleanses you. It's like a sauna, but the opposite way. Mhm. Yeah.
Mm. Ooh. Oh, that sounds fun. I can
Yeah.
just imagine you being at the
Yeah.
water's
Well,
edge there and
some
woo,
people
that would be so
really
cold.
strongly believe in swimming in water that's that cold. Now, that's too much for me, but
Yeah.
the feet are a
Yep.
good thing. Mhm.
Oh, I think that's cool. I think that's really cool. So, do you have any new projects that we can plug? Anything coming up for you that I
Yeah,
can direct read
absolutely
or
they
listeners
can.
to on the show?
I'll
Can they
provide you
contact you in some
with
way?
some information and stuff like that. But if they, I've got websites and all that sort of stuff, and I'm on Facebook. I'd love it if they wanted to look me up. It's Holly Courtright. There's not a lot of them. I'm in Victoria.
Hmm.
I would love
Okay.
to just hear if anybody has uh, any
Hmm.
book, any books that they love. I would love them to reach out and let me know. Or, if anything that I've said resonates with them, or they are, as we talked about earlier, I am an executive coach. And if anybody is, looking for some help to find a bit more focus in their workplace or move themselves to the next level, 100%. If they'd like to reach out, they can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, by email. It's just holly@courtright.co. And I'd love to chat with anybody.
I want to thank Holly Courtright for being on the show. It was a great interview. She was such fun to talk to. Remember, you can contact her through her Facebook or through her Instagram. Both of those are on the show notes. You'll be able to see those. I also wanted to remind viewers, listeners, I should say, that you can go ahead and email me at resilientpodcastmail@gmail.com if you have any questions or if you'd like to be on the show. I wanted to finish today I often talk about the books I'm reading. Nonfiction this week, I'm reading a book recommended to me by another podcaster called The Five, The Untold Lives of the Women Killed by Jack the Ripper by Hallie Rubenhold. Fascinating. It's a sociological study, really, of 18th century London and the women who lived there and their lives rather than focusing on the way that they were killed. But it's a great book for people who like true crime. Also, I'm reading a fiction novel, a young adult novel called No Fixed Address by Susan Nielsen, which is about a kiddo that's living in a van. It's wonderful. I recommend both.
Sometimes we have to start over. Sometimes we have to fight back. Sometimes it's all too much. voices of those who've overcome and expose the ones that made the choices